they named this spiritual center in a correct manner.
Yeah.
And I think, we're about joy. Are we not about joy?
Yeah.
So I want to introduce to you our guest speaker. Dr. Janine, I'll read this a little bit here. Sure. Dr. Janine Burns is a New Thought speaker and spiritual coach who teaches practical spirituality. She is passionate about helping you shed your limiting beliefs and live from a realm of possibilities.
Yes.
That's what we like to live from.
Yes.
Okay. Janine holds a doctorate in religious science and divinity degrees from Emerson Theological Institute. She also holds credentials in transformational breath skills and as a mediator in the state of New York. She's from Long Island.
And a captain.
She's met, I haven't finished. Dr. Janine teaches essential self-care, and I could go on here, but I think you're going to enjoy our guest speaker today, which is why I have her here while I'm still here, because I think that is going to be a treat for each and every person. So I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Reverend Captain Janine Burns.
Wow. Well, I was the one who said this place is well named. I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of New Thought centers throughout the United States, and this one is, boy, there's a lot of energy going on here. So it's a delight to be here. Thank you. And thank you to Reverend Margaret for using my new title, Captain. There's a power within you. It can lift your life to its highest level. It can bring success, companionship, happiness, health, and peace of mind. And as you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's the spiritual truth that is taught under the guise of the denomination known as New Thought, which teaches that there's one ultimate loving energy present in all that exists. Some call this power God, Spirit, Source, infinite intelligence, divine love. It is the creator of all that is. Ernest Holmes, the philosopher and founder of Science of Mind, wrote in his book, this thing called life, God is life. Not some life, but all life.
Right.
God is action, not some action, but all action. God is power, not some power, but all power. God is pure spirit, filling all space. And this pure spirit animates our every act. So then we can say we inherently are spiritual beings having a human experience. And should we ever forget this truth, or we should ever experience great challenges or difficulties, we can use the law of divine adjustment, which I'll explain in detail later. As spiritual beings, we co-create with God. Whatever we entertain enough and vividly enough in our thinking and our surface mind eventually passes into our deeper mind, our subconscious mind. And through the law of mind, which is the action of God, draws and attracts people, circumstances, and events which correspond to our particular thoughts. Power flows to the focus of attention. And so it is our repetitious thoughts that have the tendency to draw and attract people, circumstances, and events into our lives. And so one of my favorite expressions, and I think you can probably say it with me, thoughts held in mind, produce after their kind.
Produce after their kind.
Now, I have a really nice story to explain this principle, to demonstrate it. And it's the story of Anne Morrow Lindbergh. It's allegedly a true story. She was born of a highly accomplished parent. Her dad was Dwight Morrow. He was a United States Senator. He was an ambassador in Mexico. He was a businessman. Her mother was Elizabeth Cutter Morrow. She was a women's education advocate, and she was also a poet. Now, Anne Lindbergh herself was quite accomplished, and she's best known as the first woman in the United States to get a glider's pilot's license. She was also a prolific author, and she wrote the book Gifts by the Sea. Now, one day, Annie, when she was a little girl, her mother had invited her husband's business partner, J.P. Morgan. He was the famous financier, he was a banker, he was a philanthropist, and an art collector over for tea, because he had not met little Annie. And have you ever seen, remember in the olden days, years ago, in the banks that have pictures of the bankers? Remember J.P. Morgan?
Mm-hmm.
He had a big nose. I mean, it was really big. It was bulbous. It had dominated his entire face. And you couldn't help but stare at it. And knowing the propensity of little children to speak their mind, Mrs. Morrow worried that little Annie was going to say something to Mr. Morgan about his nose. And she knew that he was very sensitive on the subject. So, Mr. Morgan arrives, he's introduced to little Annie, and they speak for a few moments. And Mrs. Morrow noticed that Annie kept looking at Mr. Morgan's big old nose. And Mrs. Morrow kept getting just stressed out, more and more anxious that Annie was going to say something as she watched her daughter stare at the nose. Then, time finally comes to send her daughter upstairs. And Mrs. Morrow was really relieved about this. And so little Annie walks a little bit towards the stairs. She looks back at the nose. She goes a little further. She looks back at the nose. She climbs up the stairs, stops and looks up at the nose. And finally she goes up to bed, and with great relief, Mrs. Morrow has a teacup in her hand and says to J.P. Morgan, "Would you like some cream or sugar with your nose?" Power flows to the focus of attention. So where is your overall attention? Where is your attention? Only you get to decide what thoughts you want to continue to think about or entertain. There's a Chinese proverb that says, you can't keep the birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from making a nest in your hair. You can't control the thoughts that come into your mind, but you can choose which ones you want to think about and entertain. You can control which ones that stay there. So we need to learn to be in charge of our thinking, because the power within, which these days I'm calling the divine excellence within. Do you like that, Reverend Martin?
I love that.
Divine excellence. I love it. It awaits us making a declaration. This power awaits us making a declaration. We can make a declaration for whatever we'd like to experience in our lives. We can make a declaration. We can say yes to peace. We can say yes to health. We can say yes to joy. We can say yes to prosperity. And the universe immediately floods us with all the divine ideas necessary to have that experience. That's what we get, is the divine ideas. And so our responsibility is to guard our thinking, to keep it positive, to continually remind ourselves that there is this divine excellence, this amazing energy, presence, and power that seeks to express in us, through us, and as us, and that we keep our actions in alignment with our dreams and goals and the choices and the declarations we've made for our lives. I'm reminded of the story of Jonah and the whale. Familiar with the story of Jonah and the whale?
Yes.
Probably not the way I'm going to tell it, but so I'll paraphrase the story. Jonah made this declaration that he was a preacher. Like, I'm a preacher. So God gave him an indication where to preach, and he said, Jonah, I want you to go on down to Nineveh in Assyria. Those people are having a bunch of problems, and things are just really bad down there, and I want you to tell them they need to repent. The repent means to change your mind, change your thinking, change your consciousness, change your perceptions. That's all they need to do, is change their thinking. Now Jonah, he was terrified at this point. And he's like, you know what? I don't know about that. Maybe I'll just go do that later. You know, I don't feel like it. I don't really want to go. And you know what? I don't even like those Assyrians very much. And so I'm out of here. I'm just going to go hang out at Joppa. I'm going to kick back and see what life brings to me. Now, don't we all know people like that, who just sort of hang out, see what life brings to them, and then whatever life brings to them, they're not satisfied because they're not participating in the now moment. They're not living fully. And so they might say, you know, life's a drag, or they might, you know, everything must be like blasé, you know that expression, oh, whatever, or the other one, it's all good, you know, they're just talking, I mean, what does that mean? I mean, from a spiritual principle, I get what it means. And so they're just so blasé, and this is because they're not focused on living and expressing their divine nature. They have not made a spiritual declaration of what they want their life to be. So Jonah, he goes to Joppa. And he's hanging out there, he's pretty discontent, nothing's happening, and so pretty soon a ship comes along and he goes, hey, I'm gonna take a boat ride, which I can relate. And so Jonah thinks, okay, I'm gonna go for the boat ride. right, and he gets on the ship. Now think about it. How many people do you know who do just that? They're just hanging out, they're going here, they're going there, but they never fully commit to their dreams or their goals or their talents or their aspirations. They're just like hanging out, waiting for life to happen. And they never, ultimately, what we stand for here is committed to revealing their divinity. So Jonah's on the boat, and all of a sudden a storm comes up. The captain of the ship is a very clever guy. And he goes around to everybody in the boat, and he asked them what they were doing and where they were going. And they all knew. Everybody answered they were going someplace or they're doing something. Then he goes up to Jonah. Yo, Jonah, where are you going? What are you doing? Jonah says, I'm running away from God. And so the captain of the ship, he's a very clever guy, and he had a plan. And his plan was to throw Jonah overboard, and that's what he did. He picked him up and he threw him overboard. And there was Jonah. He's floating around in the ocean, and it was all of a sudden this big old fish, we think it was a whale, comes along and swallows him up. Now that got his attention. And so Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. Have you ever had the belly of the whale experience?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh, 2 of us, okay. That's where you've just been wandering through life. Maybe your job ended or your relationship ended, and maybe you got an illness, maybe somebody passed away, stuff happens in life. And maybe somebody, your beloved family member, something happened to them, you're totally at your wit's end, and you are in the belly of the whale. You're feeling like you're being tossed around by life, and you think, I've got to figure this out. I got to do something. I have to strategize. I have to manipulate. And you want to take some kind of action and do something, and all of a sudden that whale swallows you up. And there is nothing that you can do but turn to that one place. Turn to that one place where all solution lies, and that is to God within, the divine excellence within. You need to reconnect with God in a greater way. Either connect or reconnect. And this is exactly what Jonah did. He turned to God and he said, from the New Revised Standard Version, I have been cast out of your presence and your sight, yet I will look again towards your holy temple. So Jonah knew that God was his salvation. God is the only salvation that any of us has. Not the God up in the sky, but the God that is within, the creativity that's within, the desires, the urges to be more, to do more, to express more. These can be our Savior. And when we are participating fully with that, then we're working out our salvation. So Jonah's in the belly of the whale, right? He's calling on God. And the minute he did so, the moment he said, okay, God, I'm going to get on with my life. I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. I'm going to live up to my commitments. I'm going to live up to my declarations. I am going to reveal my divinity. What happened? Well, that big old whale went up to the shore and just spit him out. What happened? The minute he got what he needed from the problem, that's when things changed. It was over. And so when we get into a challenge or a problem, and we finally wake up, we can say, gee, the purpose of this problem was to awaken in me a greater spiritual awareness. It was to stimulate and to unfold my divine nature. And you know what? The problem, quote unquote, may still be in our experience, but we don't consider it a problem anymore because our perception has shifted. Of course, we live in a world of duality. You don't know cold unless you know hot, right? You don't know light unless you know darkness. And we don't know peace unless we've known turmoil. It's a world of duality that it lives in. And so in the world of duality, problems and challenges are a necessary part of unfolding our divine nature. And so have you ever had an experience when you thought that something horrible was happening to you or your loved ones, and then later on, when you had an opportunity to look back at the circumstance, you realized there was good in it? And that's because God is good. There is some good in everything. This too is good. This too is God. This too is for me. I demand to see the blessing. I demand to see the blessing. Do you know that affirmation?
No, but it sounds good.
That's a Curtis Hopkins scientific Christian mental practice. I just make jingles out of everything. So now you might say, but you know, Reverend, you don't know the problems I have. You don't know the challenges I have. There is so much disharmony. I'm feeling doubt and fearful, and it's just horrible, so much negativity. Well, stop looking at your circumstances. Stop just using your senses to look at your circumstances, and instead use your spiritual power. So when everything looks shattered, when everything looks impossible, one of my favorite Bible quotes is, God is able. It's in Paul's letter to the Corinthians. God is able to make all grace, every favor, and earthly blessing come to you in abundance, so that you may always and under all circumstances, and whatever the need be, self-sufficient. So, when everything seems to be in disarray, that's the time to realign ourselves with the creator of all that is, God, with the divine excellence. We need to change our mind, change our consciousness, and that's the time you call forth the law of divine adjustment. The law of divine adjustment is your spiritual reset button. When all around you seems chaotic, when things are crazy and confusing, use the law of divine adjustment. And what you do when you use it is you push your spiritual reset button, and everything comes back into divine order, harmony, wholeness, and love, and then you can expect the best. You can absolutely expect the best. Now, when you reset something, you move it back to its original space. And the original space here is your center of divine excellence, your spiritual center. It's the amazing presence and power of God that expresses through you and as you. And so, regardless of the nature of the situation, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, whatever the circumstance, the law of divine adjustment will see you through. It regulates, it balances, it brings and maintains every aspect of your life into divine order. God's wisdom will guide you, God's love will protect you, God's substance will support you, and God's life will renew you. Now, the law of divine adjustment works immediately. Immediately, as soon as you decree and declare it. In the Bible we read, do not earnestly remember the former things. So you got to forget about the past. Neither consider the things old. Let it go. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. I will even make a way in the wilderness, rivers, and desert. So begin now to decree the law of divine adjustment as a work into my life and affairs, bringing all into divine order, harmony, and wholeness. Please repeat after me. The law of divine adjustment.
The law of divine adjustment
Is at work in my life and affairs.
is at work in my life and affairs,
Bringing all into divine order.
bringing all into divine order,
Harmony.
harmony,
Wholeness.
wholeness,
And love.
and love.
And like I see a couple of people with their right hand up, which is very cool, because this is a strong nonverbal message to the subconscious mind. Because when you go into the court of law, you make a pledge and you raise your right hand. So let's raise our right hand. Repeat after me. The law of divine adjustment.
The law of divine adjustment
Is at work in my life and affairs.
is at work in my life and affairs,
Bringing all into divine order.
bringing all into divine order,
Harmony, wholeness, and love.
harmony, wholeness, and love.
Thank you. And so through the law of divine adjustment, you become whole and free. Your life is transformed. You experience peace and joy and ease. Isn't that the most delicious word? Ease. It's just everything flows. Comfort, success, prosperity, love, and light. And everything not in alignment with the qualities of God, the qualities of Spirit, are gonna change. And they change too sweet. They change right away. And so when we press our spiritual button, we automatically surrender, release, and we let go. Now, this doesn't mean that we're giving up or giving in to the circumstance. It doesn't mean we're weak. It doesn't mean that we're lost or that we're a loser. It means that we surrender the straining and striving to make things happen. We let go of the judgments we have about the appearances. Instead, we emphatically deny our old negative patterns and affirm that everything is in perfect order, harmony, and balance, and is working out for the highest and the best of all concerned. Now, you will find that you're guided every step of the way. And more than that, when you imbue your consciousness with this spiritual truth, you become infused with like a spirit of strength. And surprising enough, despite any horrible or yucky, stinky circumstances, you even become infused with a spirit of joy, because it springs forth from your inner depths. It is within you. And what you do is you're activating it when you're calling forth the law of divine adjustment. There's many times in my life when I've used the law of divine adjustment, believe me, including when miraculous things occurred. And I'm reminded of 10 years ago when I broke my heel. Breaking your heel is tough because you're not allowed to put your foot on the ground for 11 and a half weeks. Not even touch it with your little toe, or the big toe. And so moving around was nearly impossible. I got out of the hospital and I returned home and I was hungry. Somebody dropped me off and I was so hungry. And I was trying to eat, but standing on one foot, it was just really hard to do. And that's even without a high heel on. And I was getting more and more hungry, and I was feeling more and more frustrated and aggravated. And so I was at my wit's end, and I remembered the law of divine adjustment. I started with great feeling and faith, declaring the law of divine adjustment is working my life and affairs right here and right now. I said it over and over. I started singing it over and over. And a little while later, it was just a little while later, my phone rings, and I pick it up and someone says, "Hey, Janine, you hungry? I just barbecued a turkey." I was like, wow. The law of divine adjustment works really, really quickly. And so I continue to decree this on and on. The law of divine adjustment is working my life and affairs, bringing all into harmony, wholeness, and love. I did this many times throughout the day. I must have literally at least 500 times decreed this over and over with great feeling. Now, feeling is the fuel that propels thought into form. Feeling is very, very powerful in the manifestation process. And so one of the particularly neat things that happened is that someone gave me a scooter that I could kneel on, and I got really fast on that thing. So I had a lot of contractual obligations. You can't not show up for contractual. Even if someone carries you there, you have to show up. So I was able to get to all my contractual obligations, and so many coincidences happened. And they were divine coincidences. They were brought forth through the law of divine adjustment. And so I believe the most effective method to imbue your consciousness is through singing affirmations. Now, when you imbue something, you impregnate it, you inspire it with feelings. And remember, feeling propels, feeling is the fuel. I'm going to say that on my gravestone. Feeling is the fuel that propels thoughts into form. It is such a key point. And so I imbued my subconscious mind with feeling by singing the affirmation. And since all of life is in rhythm and motion, the subconscious mind is quickly and deeply impressed with music. And when you take an affirmation and put music to it, it becomes a mantra. And so this musical mantra will dramatically shift your thinking, and it will interrupt negative self-talk in record time. When I catch myself thinking negative, I got more jingles than I have fingers, and I just sing one of them. And when you focus on affirmations by singing them, you naturally form a new pattern in your subconscious mind. Repetition is the key to lasting transformation, and singing your affirmations will transform your life in wonderful ways, and it opens you up to divine guidance, your direct inheritance from God. The two main aspects of God are love and wisdom. Love is the glue that holds the universe together. It's the energy of God, and wisdom are divine ideas. Always your direct and immediate inheritance from God. Now, regularly singing your affirmations will bring increased peace, prosperity, joy, resulting in more abundant living. And the bottom line is, it's fun to sing affirmations. So I want to teach you my current favorite jingle. We have a handout there for you.
Send your bulletin.
There's a whole list of them on there. I apologize. My CDs are right in a little bag by the front door with my speakers. I left them in New York. But if you want to pre-order them, Reverend Margaret said you can just put your name on a list, something you can pre-order. I'd be happy to send them to you. But what really matters is that I want to teach you this one right now. So here it goes like this. The law of divine adjustment is at work in my life and affairs, bringing all into divine order. Harmony, wholeness, and love. Sing it with me. The law of divine adjustment is at work in my life and affairs, bringing all beautiful? Now, it is my fervent prayer that you will leave here today with that affirmation jingle swimming around in your hair. There's a couple of other ones I wrote down there for you. There's, oh, thank you. Let's see. Let me sing your jingle here. Oh, I love this one. This is on my CD. One source, many channels. One source, many channels. One source, many channels. God alone is the source of my good. God alone is the source of my good. One more time. One source, many channels. One source, many channels. One source, many channels. God alone is the source of my good. God alone is the source of my good. Oh, this is a one. Sue likes this one. You gonna sing it with me, Sue?
Okay.
I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give excellent service for excellent pay. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give excellent service for excellent pay. Wonderful work, wonderful way. Excellent service, excellent pay. Wonderful work, wonderful way. Excellent service for excellent pay. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give excellent service for excellent pay. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give excellent service for excellent pay. Now the next one I let go. I'm going to be teaching this one during the workshop this afternoon. I encourage you to come if you want to learn amazing techniques to release and let go. I call forth ideas from transpersonal psychology, rational emotive behavior therapy, Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication, and on and on. I took many, many years. It's going to be 29 years next week that I'm ordained. So I took many years of experience to make this workshop. So I hope you can show up and be a part of it and learn more about the F word and how to manage it in your life and affairs. But right now, let's sing this one more time because I want it in your head. The law of divine adjustment is at work in my life and affairs, bringing all to divine order, harmony, wholeness, and love. The law of divine adjustment is at work in my life and affairs, bringing all into divine order, harmony, wholeness, and love. One more time. The law of divine adjustment is at work in my life and affairs, bringing all into divine order, harmony, wholeness, and love. Students of truth, you can call upon the law of divine adjustment and actively bring forth the energy and power of spirit. You can push your spiritual reset button, make your declarations, and just watch in great joy and awe as the amazing power of spirit moves through every aspect of your life and affairs, bringing all into divine order, harmony, and wholeness. And then we will truly live, revealing our divinity and glorifying the divine excellence that we are. And so begins your lesson.
Thank you.